Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Corgeut 2063. Let's start with the wrist check. I'm wearing this Cadison C8220, and Gergo's wearing my Skimmy 2042, which is doing quite well on views. I don't understand it sometimes. I buy a $6 Skimmy, and I'm having more views than any other watch I've reviewed in the last 10 reviews. I showed Grogu the movie Silent Running, and afterwards he said it made no sense for them to send the trees off into space. Why not just build domes on the Earth? I said it was not meant to be realistic. It was an allegory. He said, oh good, I've never tried allegory eggs before. Alright, let's take a look at the watch. Comes in this box with the cleaning cloth. And here it is. This is the Corgeut 2063. If you saw my unboxing video, I had labeled it the 2023. There was some conflicting information on the AliExpress ad, as the specifications said 2023, but the ad copy said 2063. There is no marking on the watch itself, but I did see that Corgeut makes a Black Bay 58 homage called the 2023, so I'm assuming 2063 is correct. If you also saw my unboxing video, you'll know that I had an issue with this watch when I unboxed it. The rotor would not spin, and thus the watch would not self-wind. Rather than open the case back and see if I could fix it, I reported the watch broken and as proof sent a video of the stuck rotor, which I could do because of the display case back. The Corgeut store on AliExpress refunded my money, and I did not have to send the watch back. I did not want to open the case back beforehand because I did not want them blaming me for the malfunction by opening the case. Once the refund was settled, I opened the case back and saw that the plastic movement holder was bent. So rather than ordering another one, I attempted to fix it myself. Every time I would straighten the movement holder and screw down the case back, it would bend again. So I eventually cut off the top of the movement holder and was able to make it work. If you don't like the blue, there's also a black or a green. If you don't like the 5-link bracelet, there is also a color matched rubber bracelet option. I'm sure it is more than likely silicone, but it does not say. It's only $1 cheaper, so I would stick with the metal bracelet. The watch is 39.8 millimeters at the bezel, 47.8 millimeters lug to lug, 12.8 millimeters thick, has a 20 millimeter lug width, and weighs 137 grams on the supply bracelet with 6 links removed. But it has a bigger clasp than the stock clasp because I had to replace the clasp. I'll explain later. The bezel is 120 click unidirectional with an aluminum insert. The action is not too bad. It's not too light, not too heavy, but there is quite a bit of back play. So I've seen better clicks, but it's decent. And then we have the dial. The dial is a textured dial. And as you can see, there's no sunburst effect. And I kind of like the dial. That texture looks kind of nice. But then we have the indices. The dot indices are really tiny, and they look a little bit too small. And then we have some pretty small batons here and a double at the 12. Yeah, not a big fan of the indices. And then we have the hands. We have your fence post minute hand, then your snowflake hour hand, and snowflake lollipop second hand. Then we have the date at the 3 with no cyclops. And then we have the Corgeut name up top printed on. And on the bottom, let me move the hour hand out of the way. On the bottom, it says automatic, water resistant, and just 100 meters. We have an unsigned screw down crown. The thread action seems pretty good. Not a lot of resistance, pops nicely. And when you go to thread it in, it catches right away too, so that's nice. Then we have a sapphire crystal. There was some conflicting on the AliExpress ad. One part of it said mineral glass, but I tested it and it's sapphire. So these AliExpress brands need to go over their copy and their ads because they make a lot of mistakes. And so a lot of people prefer sapphire, and some people might have passed when they saw mineral glass. Then we have the case. I like the case. The case is polished on the sides, brushed on the tops and bottom. And these lugs curve down quite a bit. So even though the case back's kind of thick because it's a display, it wears nice and flat. We have a display case back. It's a screw down and there's no writing on it at all. Underneath the case back is the NH35 movement. This is the go-to workhorse movement for automatic watches in this price range. It's a 3 Hertz movement that hand winds hacks and has a bidirectional rotor and is fairly accurate right off the shelf. But let's go ahead and put it on the time grapher and see how this one's doing. Here it is on the time grapher, and as you can see, we have some pretty bad numbers. Plus 24, plus 19, plus 17, only 228 degrees of amplitude, and quite a bit of beat error. So yeah, this one's not doing very well. So obviously they did not regulate this at the factory. The bracelet's a 5-link J-word style, and it's has solid end links, but they're protruding. So the links do stick out a little bit past the lugs. Then we do have screw pin adjusters, not push pins. And as you can see, the heads are really small. So you need a really tiny screwdriver. The clasp, this is not the clasp that the watch came on. Here's the clasp that the watch came on. And as you can see, I had a little struggle with this clasp and I ended up bending it. The struggle I was having was the Easy Link system. It got stuck and I was unable to take the bracelet out of Easy Link mode so I could move it up and down the micro adjust, because I wanted to move it in just one because it was a little bit loose, and I struggled and ended up breaking the bracelet. So that is why I ordered a new clasp on AliExpress, and I thought I'd be clever and I'd get one with on-the-fly adjustment, and I did, and it's a nice clasp and it works nice. The trouble is though, I had to remove 2 more links to get it to fit, and that's all the links I have. So this watch is sized to fit my 7.5-inch wrist, and I can't make it any smaller. There's no more links to remove, and it's all the way in. And yes, this clasp is a little bit smaller than this one, but not much. So I imagine I would have had to remove a lot of links to get this one to work too. So if you have a really small wrist, you're going to have issues with this because there's just not enough links to remove. Here's the watch and my 7.5-inch wrist. It looks nice. But once again, I removed 6 links to fit because of this bigger clasp, and there's no more links to remove. Here we are in the loom room. It looks like there's a huge difference between the indices and the hands, and we're not going to have that issue with the indices outshining the hands. But let's see if the hands are any good. As we speed up the time, we see that the indices fade almost immediately. The hands are much better, but unfortunately the all-important minute hand is much weaker than the snowflake hour hand, and it isn't lasting very long. Of course, there is no loom pip, so you can't use the bezel timer in the dark anyway. Not very good loom. What do I like about this watch? Well, I do like the textured dial, and I do like the case. And I do like the fact that it was fairly affordable for a solid steel NH35 powered watch. What are my gripes and groans? Well, we had a few quality control issues. Bent movement holder prevented the rotor from spinning. and it had a clasp with a stuck easy link system, and I had to pry it open and end up breaking it. I don't like the fact that the loom is bad and that there's no loom pip. I don't like the fact that there's not enough links to remove to fit smaller wrist, and it just seems to be an uninspired design. Do I recommend this watch? No, I really debated even reviewing this watch after my few quality control disasters, but I went ahead and reviewed it anyway. I mean, if you like the looks of this watch, it's not horrible, and I'm sure hopefully you won't have the same quality control that I did. But I'm just not a huge fan of this watch. I'm having trouble recommending it. I just think there's so much better out there. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Corgeut 2063, and I will be back with another review. Be sure and like and subscribe to my channel. Bye.